Desktop Ekphrasis for Thursday, June 30th, 2022. A parable cycle of the 3 wise men and the stone. In the first parable, there's a gardener, and that gardener is confronted with the following problem. There is a stone that weighs perhaps between 2 tons and 10,000 pounds in the place he wishes to build his garden. To solve this problem, he enlists the service of 3 wise men. The first of these wise men is merely a sophist. His answer to the problem is as follows. There's really no point in your trying to build a garden in this place, because if the stone is as large as you say that it is, you'll never be able to move it. And the very fact that it exists in the place in which you plan on building your garden is a good indication that your idea is flawed from the outset. You should perhaps leave the building of gardens to those gardeners who have no such huge stones impeding their progress. Enough said. And so the gardener addressed the second wise man, who was perhaps a bit wiser than the first. And this wise man referred to himself as a cynic. That's a tough problem. I've faced similar problems in my own initiatives. You probably won't be able to move the stone. And because you probably won't be able to move the stone, you may not be able to build the garden where you intend to. However, you will get stronger day by day the more force you exert upon the stone, which is good for your health. Additionally, attempting to move such a large stone and returning to it day after day will create quite an interesting theater. And even though you may not build the garden that you intended to build in the first place, you'll have built something. Upon hearing this advice, the gardener enjoined the third wise man, who was a mystic, with the same question. Her response was as follows. It's perhaps best not to conceive of the problem as trying to move the stone out of the garden, but of removing all of those obstacles that are in the way of the stone's moving itself where you want it to be. Once you have removed all of those obstacles, the stone will naturally follow its inclination and arrive at the destination that you prefer it to be located in. In this manner, you will have already accomplished your task and can proceed to the building of your garden. The second parable takes place in the middle of a beautiful garden of several thousand acres. Within this garden, there is a majestic and highly esteemed school or university. 3 potential students are being examined to determine whether they will be admitted to the school located in the middle of this enormous and magical garden. Each of the students is asked first to recite the parable of the 3 wise men and the immovable stone within the garden, or the garden to be. And after reciting the parable, to answer the simple question, what is the moral of this story? The first student recites the parable eloquently, deliberately, and without error. And following the recitation, answers the question with the following. The moral of the story is that it is best to choose one's teachers wisely. The examiner says, very well, you may attend our school. Go to building A, where you will meet your first instructor. Sophist, the wise. The second student falters slightly in his recitation of the parable of the three wise men and the obstructing stone in the garden, but manages to get through it and responds to the question with the following. The moral of the story is that there are often many more ways not to move a very large stone than there are to move it. Very well, said the test giver. You are welcome in our school. Please proceed to building B, where you will encounter your first instructor, Cynicus, the wise. The third student, having either forgotten that the first part of the task was to recite the parable, or for some other reason, jumped immediately to the question, why do you ask what the moral of this parable is? Have you yourself forgotten it? To which, after a brief period of laughter, the examiner replied, perhaps I should study at your school then. At which point, the student said, very well, and my first lesson shall be, after reciting the following parable, please attempt to recall why you imagine that it has a single and determinate moral, at which point he recited the parable of the three wise men and the immovable stone within the garden to be. The third parable begins in the middle of a mighty sandstorm. And a wise man and his potential mentee are traversing the dunes in the direction of 3 enormous rock mountains. When they arrive there, almost at the exact moment that they make it to the base of the vista in which the clearest view of the mountains is presented to the eye, the wise man asked the potential student the following question. Here are 3 stones. Here are 3 rock mountains. Upon which of these should I build my house? To which the potential mentee replies, let us not answer these questions ourselves, but ask those who would know more than we. Let us ask the 3 mountains. The potential then asked the first mountain, should my future master build his house or school upon you, first rock? To which the first rock replied, yes, indeed, he should. Choose me. The potential student then turned to the second rock. Should my future master build his house or school upon you, second rock? Oh, no, not me. Choose elsewhere, please. Your master would be much better off choosing another rock than I. At this point, the potential student turned to the third and final rock and asked again the same question. Oh, third and final rock, should my future master build his house or school upon you? There was no reply, but only silence. And after waiting within such silence for the course of 40 minutes, the potential student turned to his new master with his answer. It is the third stone, master, upon which you should build your house and school. To which the master replied to his student and questioned, why is that, my student? It is because, master, replied his student. It is because this third and final rock was the only one that answered truthfully to my question.